lineups. First up, Pacific Macta.
Yeah, looking at these guys, obviously Revenge is that go-to player, one of the most consistent snipers, honestly, in the world when it comes to CROSSFIRE. This guy has insane performances at tons of top-level events. On top of that, though, another key player to keep my eyes on is going to be Aldrin throughout this. He's been a key clutch player and loves to take those close quarters rifle positions, and he's really a big impact as well for this lineup. But honestly, overall as a team, they just play really methodical. They have very calculated utility that they use, and they love to go for aggressive early control, especially on their global risk sides. They're not afraid to take map control on the defensive, and that's really what I like to see from these top-level teams. They have fearless control here, and honestly, I think that's something that Carbon needs to be ready for going into this, because Pacific, they have very methodical executions for taking map control.
So it's perhaps a bit of a bleak picture being painted here for the North Americans. Before we look at them, we're going to continue looking at this lineup, who, as mentioned before, have been together for 4 years without roster change at this point. That is an incredibly long time, and that is... Okay, I thought that was actually the angle his monitor was on. I was going to say, how do you play like that? That's not the case. Either way, a lot of experience on this lineup, and I think we're certainly going to need to see some individual brilliance coming out from North Americans. We certainly had an awful lot of it in our first game of the day. Q9 taking on Black Dragons. There was, I'd say, 5 or 6 rounds that came down to 1v1s, 1v2s, 1v3s being won. Just big clutches going every which way. Let's see if this game can provide some more of the same. So it looks that way so far.
Yeah, honestly, just looking at these two lineups, I'd say we're not going to see the same amount of clutch situations coming up, because both of these teams play very reserved and very calculated, so I think it's going to be a lot more momentum-based in this lineup. So we could potentially see a big score gap if one of these teams comes away with an early lead. But just looking at Carbon's lineup, obviously, the new additions coming in are going to be Kai's and Brando. However, Brando, he's brought a very clean execution style to this team. They have a lot stronger utility usage that I've noticed since bringing him in. And as an individual, he's a very strong clutch player who we've seen in the past do some strong things for his past lineups as well. So honestly, overall, a very strong performing team. But honestly, the player to keep my eye on is going to be Famous on this lineup. He's one of those players that if he goes off, the whole team just seems to kind of go off around him, and that's something we saw when they were with 2 different players at last year's CROSSFIRE Stars. This is still a team that only fell short by 1 placing compared to Pacific, so they were the 4th place team at CROSSFIRE Stars with a slightly different roster, so I'm definitely interested to see if they still have that top-level performance. This is a team that they've taken a Chinese team 10-3 on a map before, so it's not to keep them as the underdogs here, but still, Pacific going to be a tough first match for them, but we'll see if they can take this one on. But Brando at the helm definitely gives me a bit more confidence in this lineup against such a calculated team.
Something I want to touch on again, because we did talk about it earlier. Speaking of this AWM matchup, the sniping matchup between Kai's and Revenge, something else to consider when you're talking about Kai's is this is his first this is his first big LAN event. That's a confident Famous right there. But this is his first big event, right? He's coming up against potentially one of the best snipers in the world, and he's 18 years old. He's very young in terms of everyone else is a few years older than him. Just generally, being a gamer of this standard when you're 18 is very young. So a lot of pressure on him perhaps in this environment, given that he doesn't have that much experience, still a young player. It'll be interesting to see if he can step up and perform.
Yeah, and it is kind of interesting going up against Revenge as well, because he actually came in at his first international appearance as one of the youngest snipers as well. So it's actually kind of interesting to see these two go head-to-head as his first match in an international environment, because Revenge, he came in 4 years ago as a very, very young player on that LAN environment. I think he was like 16 or 17 on his first international with Pacific. So honestly, both of these guys have worked their way up from a very young age to become well-respected snipers in their region.
I also can't count or do math. It's actually 19 in his case. I can't count. But either way, let's have a look at the bans. Mexico gone for Pacific. Carbon going to get rid of Subbase. Let's see what map we end up on here. Thought we were stopping, but no, there we are. We're on port.
So honestly, this is a map that should be a very strong map for Carbon. However, with the addition of Kai's, it honestly made them a little bit more exposed in how they play this map, and I think Pacific is going to have the advantage here on this one, especially starting on a side like Blacklist where they can control the momentum here against Carbon. Seeing how Carbon's played port in the past, it's going to be a tough one for them. They usually like to put Kai's alone and hold lane control on A top, and that's been the position out of everything he's played so far that I've seen him struggle the most. So honestly, a position right now where Carbon is going to have to think of ways to adapt and adjust to him not working out in that position. Otherwise, this could be a difficult map for them.
But indeed, particularly if you have a new player coming in who does play solo positions, if I'm on the opposing team and I know that there's a new player, young player who likes to play by himself, my game plan immediately is to try and punish him and see how they'll react, right? It's to go for that perceived weak link, even if he isn't, just say, all right, let's immediately put him through his paces, see if he can contain us if we just put pressure on him straight up. So if he does indeed end up playing solo, which you say, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what Pacific do go for here off the start.
And something else to keep in mind with the roster of Carbon as well. On international lands, we've seen almost everyone on this team bring out a sniper before, so it's not to say Kai's is limited to that position. We've also seen Famous snipe on land before. We've also seen Rek bring it out, and both of them have been very effective with it as well. And when you have that many good sniper variants in your lineup, it's going to give them the ability to adapt here. So if Kai's isn't working out, they can always throw an AK in his hands and try their luck with one of their other effective snipers on that team. And I think that's going to be the situation they may be thrown into here, because Kai's having to play a solo position on a hold is very intimidating, especially in this new environment for himself.
It's good, though, that he isn't just forced into it. It means that he does have a bit of an out if things do start going a bit awry for him. He can get that rifle in his hands, play maybe a bit more of a comfortable position. And it's certainly, while that sniper rifle is that one-shot kill, high damage weapon, it's also incredibly high risk in that if you miss your shot and they're close to you, you're going to get overrun. So if you're playing a similar position with the rifle, it's a lot higher multi-frag potential, or even just frag potential in general, in that it's not such a punishing thing if you do miss your first shot. So we'll see how that one does work out for Kai's in the end, and how it goes for Carbon in general. But the general vibe here that I'm getting from you, Kyle, is that you think Pacific's going to run away with this one.
Yeah, I honestly think now seeing the map, I'd say the scoreline is probably going to be somewhere around a 10-6 for Pacific Macta here. I think they're really in a favorable situation when it comes down to this map. It's a map that I've seen Carbon very inconsistent on as of late, but the saving grace they have here is they do have a new in-game leader, and Brando has made them a little bit stronger when it comes down to how they're able to hold off effectively on their global risk halves, but he's going to have to be very on point with his adaptive calling if he wants to take this one home for his team here, because right now it's just a very nerve-wracking situation for these guys, because I don't feel very confident with how they stand going into this map. I think out of the 3 that were left when the ban phase came through, this is probably the worst choice they could have gotten.
So we'll have to see then if Brando can lead his team to success, but maybe a big ask for him, though. So it'll be interesting to see how this one does play out. 10-6 is the way that you're thinking. I mean, last map you were almost correct. You called a 10-8 win. It wound up being 13-11, so you were right in that it was close. It was even closer than you originally thought, so far, I can trust your predictions, Kyle. We'll see if that remains to be the case, or if I'll be calling you out and it come later in the day or tomorrow. But yeah, it remains to be seen. I think these first few games, all of these first 4 games that we've seen all of our teams play, or first 3, I should say, it'll just be a bit of a measure for you and I to see how these teams are feeling in this environment, how the teams who have made roster changes are going to settle in with those, how those newer players, looking at Kaiser, are going to feel sitting in this environment potentially for the first time, with the players surrounding them potentially for the first time. It's a bit of a measuring factor for us to get a feel on how these games will go through the rest of the day, because we are only here looking towards our second game of 11 today. So a lot of CROSSFIRE to be played, and I think that as the day goes on, we'll get a much better handle on how these teams are going to be performing.
Yeah, especially for some teams, this day could be the only day they have a chance to prove themselves. Some of these teams have as many as 4 of their best of 1s on the table to be played today, and doing poorly in just that one day in 4 matches, that's enough to have you already in a position where you're not going to be making that top 4. So we could very well know who the top 4 are going to be, or if it's close, we could have everyone fighting in those last games for a spot.
That's the thing with a bracket like this, where so many games are on the first day, as you say. It's not like I've seen other tournaments with formats where the first day is maybe only 3 or 4 games. Every team plays 1 or 2. You get a chance to warm into it, right? We're jumping in the deep end here. In other tournaments where the bracket is maybe more spread out, you might be able to have an off day. If you have an off day here, you're having an off most of the group stage. It's a really big deal for these teams that if they do go down, or if someone's not having such a great game off the start, that they're able to bounce back, because as we've mentioned, 11 games, these guys are playing 3 or 4 games today. That is the bulk of their group stage. It's a 6-team round robin, so everyone plays 5 games. If you do badly today, you may not have a chance to bounce back tomorrow.
Yeah, and looking at the schedule we have coming up, I think 2 teams actually have a nice advantage in having 2 games tomorrow rather than 1, and that's Carbon and Q9 both have 2 games tomorrow to be played instead of 4 today, which is just a lot to start off with. So those teams, even if they have a few slip-ups today, they're going to have a bit more time to adjust than those other 4 teams. But to be fair, with how Q9 started, they may actually need that time.
They may indeed. They did go down 13-11 in their first game against Black Dragons. So they'll be looking to come back into this one swing, get a few more wins on the board, but moving away from Q9 and back to the game at hand, Pacific Macta up against Carbon. We should be underway very shortly as the players continue to have fun with each other on camera.
Yeah.
Hand signals, just helping out.
Honestly, Pacific, they don't look as confident, though, as I thought they would here. They're definitely eager and ready to go, but Carbon, they always have sort of a bleak look to them. They just seem focused and ready to go, but Kai's definitely looks a little bit nervous, but as you can see, Rek there, he's just sort of playing a bit composed, just ready to get started here, but just looking at how they're going to be playing this one going into that first half, they're going to be on the defensive where they actually do run a double sniper setup pretty consistently here. So I'm actually interested to see now with Kai's in the mix who they're going to utilize in that secondary sniper role, whether it be Rek here or Famous. Both of them are players who we've seen do it on port, and it's actually a map where they've had a lot of success in doing that as well in the past. So definitely a lot of opportunity for themselves here to start it off right with a nice 1-0. And honestly, they do have a nice convenience too. They don't have to play one of the powerhouse Chinese rosters first. Pacific, they're a team that I'd say in Carbon's eyes is definitely a bit more beatable, but still not a team you can take too lightly here.
That double AWM setup, though, can give you a big advantage off the start as long as your snipers are hitting shots. If you have 2 snipers and they both hit 1 shot and they're able to fall back 3v5, great. You're immediately into a big advantage. It's not the same as 1 sniper, obviously, because you have 2, but it's not the same as 1 guy who can fall back and then maybe you can catch him out while he's rotating. If there's 2 snipers facing you down, it's a lot harder to catch one of them out. Generally, on the flip side of that, though, if those snipers start missing shots, then given how quickly this game moves, given how small some of these maps are, how quickly you can close the distance with your rifles, if your snipers start missing shots and getting traded for free, then maybe things aren't so great. So there's a lot to consider here for both of these teams tactically. Certainly, if we do see this double AWM coming out for Carbon off the start, but as the stage lights are showing us, we're very nearly ready to get underway by the looks of things. Having a look at these teams head to head, all 10 players pretty calm and ready here. No one too flustered at this point. Most look raring to go. So I think we're just about ready to jump in. Carl, you've called it a 10-6. Having seen these teams, having seen them how they're preparing, where everyone's sitting, are you still feeling confident with that call?
Yeah, definitely. And something I always like to point out here when they go to the shots, Rek is the only player who plays with his keyboard on his lap. Something interesting to note there.
Oh wow, he does too. That's I'm guessing when I've seen it before, it's a LAN tendency where players are used to not having enough desk room for their keyboard and mouse. So in order to give themselves maximum keyboard or maximum mouse room, they go to keyboard on the lap. Rek's still keeping that up, certainly a holdover from older and tighter LAN Center days. But here we go, match number 2 here of the group stages at the CROSSFIRE Global Invitational. Carbon versus Pacific Macta getting underway.
Starting this one off already, Pacific, they're going to be sending a lot of their players over towards A long here, but it's actually Kai's goes for the aggro play, pushes up mid, and gets the early peek. Brando actually going to be the secondary sniper to start it off. Revenge finds him on the top of A. But Carbon, they already found 2 opening picks. Kai's finds another on the rotation in, and it's going to be ZYK trying to get the trade frag here. Can't seem to get it. Kai's with an opportunity, but it's going to be squandered here as he's taken down by ZYK and the Colt. So Rek and Superman going to be left in a 2v2 here, but still, they need to be careful as the bomb could go down at any moment.
So we'll see how they choose to play this 2 versus 2. Revenge has spotted him out, and that's a cracking shot, starting it off with the AWM. Amazing kill for him, and now the 2 versus 1. He's looking for it, goes for a drop shot, a bit ambitious, but now the pistol's out, and surely there's nowhere to run. No, Rek's making this work, but Revenge will come through with the win. A big round from them, and a big round from the snipers in general. As you'd expect when there's 3 on the server out of 10 players. Kai's did well, getting a couple off the board. Oops, looks like we might have a bit of a tech pause here maybe, but nonetheless, strong start for the guys on Pacific. Revenge doing well, I think with 3 kills there, maybe 4, getting a lot of work done. And Kai's still right too, but still, first round going the way of the Filipinos.
Yeah, and honestly, I was impressed with the adjustments Carbon made going into this. They realized that Kai's wasn't going to be a strong player on A top, so they had him push up mid to start off the round, and he actually got the opening pick there up mid and found himself another on the rotation to A as well, so he's been effective so far. The main reason they weren't able to close it out, though, was Revenge. Once he got into that A top position, he was just unstoppable, and if you give a sniper that high ground, they're going to sit there and abuse it against you. So even though Brando was able to get one pick on A, if your rotations aren't on point and you give them that full control, that top A is very, very hard to retake control of. And as you could see there, Rek, he tried his hardest there, but unfortunately, Revenge in the 1v1 was just too strong there. Now, after the pause, it is going to be a 1-0 lead here for Pacific Macta. And Carbon, you can see they're a little bit frustrated from that first round. They're regrouping and how they want to sort of counteract and come back, I'm sure, after that first round slipping against them. But honestly, it came down to a 1v1, so just small adjustments could easily make this a close game.
And it was, as you said, just Revenge running away with it. Multiple frags there in that round with the AWP and AWM even, and closing out with the pistol. So certainly a high individual impact from him, but we'll see if that is able to continue here. It's only one round. It's hard to really predict too much off of that, especially when it came down to that 1 versus 1 in the end. It's a near thing. I think all we can really accurately say based off that is that this might well be a close game, but we'll see how this WAWM is used by Carbon, if they choose to continue it, how they adapt it, because surely they can't just put their players in the same positions every round, or else Pacific Macta will start to adapt, learn where the snipers are playing, and be able to potentially outwit them, but we will see.
And the double snipers, too, could be a big advantage moving forward against this lineup as well on Pacific, because Pacific is generally a team that doesn't really have a secondary sniper that they can utilize. So if Carbon starts winning that lane control with that double sniper setup, Pacific, they're going to have to get creative with different ways to challenge that, because it's not going to be head-on in a sniper duel because their secondary sniper is non-existent.
Nonetheless, back into the game we go. As you say, 1-0 for Pacific Macta, getting that first win on the board. We'll see how things are going to be changed up here by them. Revenge is going to be boosted up. Look for a pick on that AWM. There we go. Gets up on top of the box and will now try and find the opening frag. I've already seen how deadly he can be, and Brando will get flashed out as well. And will be taken down by Revenge. That's a great opening pick.
And as you can see, they immediately fall off as well to try and maybe catch the rotations off guard here, and that's something you'll notice at this highest level of play. Teams aren't overzealous to commit as soon as they get that first entry. They're willing to reset and potentially catch the rotators off guard here, and that's exactly what ZDD here is in position to do. He's listening for those rotations, and he's waiting to tell his team if they're going to commit to a full A rotation, but he knows it's not going to happen. Now he sneaks through, kills Kai's, and now they have control to pinch A. This is a huge play coming out from ZDD in mid, but he can't get the second frag on top of it, but still, it's a 3-on-2, and they're in a very prime position to take this round away.
Aldrin's moving around looking for this frag as well. Both players together for Carbon, but it is, as you say, this 3 versus 2. Very difficult for them. There's the 1 kill, and the second comes in as well. RGXM gets it well, fully flashed out. And that round, nowhere near as close as the first. Carbon got overrun.
Yeah, Brando having no success this time. Revenge just took him head on and instantly took him out. On top of that, you also had Kai's getting snuck up on by ZDD in mid and giving them the perfect opportunity to collapse. Interesting setup indeed, but as I've mentioned, these guys can all snipe effectively, but the question is, can they hit the initial test, which is going to be Revenge going for the long angles against them, and honestly, I don't know if they're cut out for it just yet. Revenge, a very, very hard player to take these duels against, but he's looking for Kai's in mid this first time around, so interesting decision here. Rek going to be on top of A with Brando as well. Not too often you see 2 snipers on the top of the A bomb side. Very interesting and very risky decision if it goes wrong.
Well, this strikes me as a strategy to do just that. Get as many snipers as you need to get rid of Revenge. He's already been deadly against them. And it will be Kai's, the young gun, stepping up with that sniper rifle to find the first. It's a big kill for this defensive side here of Carbon. Going for a little bit more aggressive control as well, looking for a kill. Looking for a player jumping up, perhaps getting caught out. Kai's going close mid, but not found anything just yet. In the meantime, Pacific regrouping. They don't, in theory, know about the third AWM. They will suspect 2, of course, but the third will either catch them out or end up with them being caught out. Kai's has taken his shot. Now Superman under a lot of pressure, flashed out. Kai's has found another one somehow there, and the second actually stepping up now, locking down this bomb site, and it's all left up to Aldrin. 1 versus 4, and Kai's might just catch him out. Does miss the rifle shot, the sniper shot even, and in the end, the AK of his teammate will come in to help out, but that's a much better round there. coming in from Carbon.
Yeah, definitely Kaya's being repositioned in mid so far has worked out very effectively. He got 2 kills in the opening round and 3 on that last round. So far that's worked out really well. The only question is when they go back for that A hit, is Carbon going to be ready? Brando hasn't been able to respond there on those A top picks from Revenge just yet. And it looks like we may see that come out again, but Pacific, they're playing very spread out this time. They're going to try and abuse Kai's being alone here in a lot of situations, but Kai's, he's actually been rotated here as well. He's going to be on the back of B, so it's actually only going to be one player locking down mid right now from Carbon, just playing it very, very safe here. They have Famous just sitting on the back of the Global Risk spawn wall, waiting for the push to come up. But right now, Pacific, they're taking map control very slowly. Carbon has given them complete control over this map before they push in. So Pacific, they're going to have everything in line for a solid execution here if they can get some utility down. And it looks like they want to go for this B hit again. Keep in mind, last time Kai's got 3 kills on the entry here towards B. So definitely a tough situation for them to push into.
And still those 3 snipers in play for Carbon. A lot of damage if they can manage to bring it to deck. Of course, retaking with those sniper rifles is not quite as easy as holding off, so they'll certainly want to be getting at least a kill or 2 with those before they end up having to be in a retake situation or being forced into a retake situation. But Famous, when this is the first shot, and Kai strikes again. Superman here on the side as well, trying to make some space. Kai's goes down, but Superman's still alive and still trying to frag. Too many players to look at, but he manages to grab another there in the end. Brings it down into the 2 versus 3. Revenge missing a quick scope. And now RGXM, 1 versus 3. No bomb on here. Oh, it doesn't the bomb, in fact. It's going to go for the plant. We'll put that down. So now we can try and play this post-plant, but all of Carbon committing together. The flashbang is perfect. Goes up for 1. Looking for more, but in the end, it's Brando to come through with that trade. And Carbon doing well.
Definitely a solid hold there between Kais and Superman. They picked up 3, but now it's going to be Pacific probably shifting that focus back towards A. They had 2 successful rounds to start off this half towards A, so Carbon, in the back of their minds, they have to be prepared for this potential A hit because so far they haven't been able to hold off an A hit from Pacific just yet, and it looks like that's exactly what the zoning is going to be here. Revenge, though, still wants to try and re-challenge Kais in mid.
Kai's under a lot of pressure now. New bullets coming his way, but he's managed to move back and get himself a little bit of freedom. There's a Famous there for support as well. Looking for these frags, shooting straight into the smoke. Trying to catch him out, but nobody just yet managing to connect any kill or any bullets. In fact, Kai's going to get tagged. I assume it's from the AWM of Revenge, but no kill. So we'll see which way this one's going to go. 2-2. Carbon managed to make this one work again, but ZYK straight through a smoke. Trying to find a bit of presence. The risk here for Carbon, really, in my mind, is if they let Pacific get too close to them. With this triple AWM setup, they don't have a ton of close range fighting or close range capability, but so far they've done well enough. We'll see if they can continue it here, though, as Pacific are grouping up.
Tough situation, though. Their only B-side hold is the very, very low HP player of Kai's here. So he has to have a big impact on this cross pick, but so far it's worked out. He takes down Revenge. Great first pick from him, but ZDD gets the spray down there through the box, and it's going to be a 4-on-4. Superman, though, finds one on the rotation. It's going to be a 3v3 as the bomb gets planted, but now Carbon, they're going to be stuck on full retake mode here as they try and find a way to isolate a pick. But right now, Pacific, they're playing this post-plant exactly how they need to. Just going to be holding on the close corners here, having 2 in pit, just waiting for the push out, and even a smoke bloom to cross it as well.
Flashbangs coming in from Carbon as they look to move in on this retake. With the 1 sniper rifle, ZYK will get traded there, but the smoke spray coming in. This bomb time is starting to tick lower and lower. Superman's done well. In fact, he's actually made it work. Rex managed to come in and clean it up. I missed that second frag from Superman, but he's done it. Brings it into the 1v1, and his teammates able to win it. So Carbon, they pull around out of nowhere, managing to get that retake across in that 3 versus 3.
Definitely a great play from Superman there from the B tunnels. He just snuck out, finds himself with a just brilliant double kill to open things up. And Rek fortunately was able to clean things up with a little speed shot there from the Colt so he could hold on. Kai's, though, again, winning with these opening picks here. That's another big one for him. He takes out Aldrin this time. Revenge didn't even want to try and take him on. And this honestly begs the question in my mind, is Kai's going to be able to outplay Revenge in this half?
So far, he's done very, very well, at least winning the duels against other players. He hasn't really had too much success taking on Revenge directly, but he's doing his part, locking down the bomb sites. He's certainly gotten the opening pick these last few rounds. Still, though, Revenge is that player to question. Certainly very, very dangerous indeed. Being very dynamic in the duels that he takes, but Brando's managing to beat him. Maybe Kai's won't need to if Brando can do it. A few grenades going to go Brando's way, but he will be able to fall back.
And right now, Carbon, they're doing exactly what they need to, trying to divide these players into 1v1 aim duels. And right now, Carbon, they're winning the aim duels exactly how they need to now. They're just trading out at this point because they know that's all that's necessary. It's a 1-on-3 now. And we do see ZYK with the in his hands. We'll see if he can be effective with it. So far, he is leading the charge in frags since the reset here for his team. So we'll see if he can maybe win this 1v3, but still, there's 2 snipers on the table here, and I don't even think Pacific is actually caught on to the fact that there is actually still 3 snipers here. Nice shot, though, onto Brando to get this 1v3 started. However, Rek and Famous both sitting close by and waiting for this repeat. Famous, though, finds 3 shots, finally secures the kill with the headshot there. And Carbon, they're starting to get the momentum here, and this could be a chance for them to pull ahead with a very confident first half.
I think you might be right about the fact that Pacific haven't caught onto the 3rd AWM yet because they haven't really been challenged for it. They've lost Revenge to Brando a few times. Kai's has been very good at finding that first pick, but not sure how many times Rek's really been getting involved. And indeed, he's now the 2nd AWP instead of the 3rd. Brando's moved back onto that AK, trying to keep things flexible here for Carbon. Done a bit of damage already, and there's that first kill coming through. Superman has been very good so far on this rifle. At fragging Kai's now. We'll see what else they can get done with this, but Pacific Macta, if they keep losing this first player early on, it's going to be difficult to come back in that 4v5.
Yeah, Carbon definitely doing what they need to here. Port, generally a map that is a little bit global risk-sided, so they know they need to win this first half, and right now they're definitely in a position to make that happen. All they need to do is close out this round, and they'll be guaranteed at least the half to be theirs. And now we do see Revenge. He's already taken a little bit of damage here as well, but still, they need to find a pick here to answer back to Carbon. Kai's taking a bit of damage here as well. And mid ZDD, he wants that shot to go through, but Rek, he's actually going to get another pick here onto RGX, and ZDD trades out. Revenge finds one onto Superman, and just like that, the 2-man advantage is taken away. ZDD finds another. Finally, Rek takes him down, but definitely a big cost at that. ZDD finding 2 before he went down there. Rek and Brando now looking for potential round to hold on to, but Rek, he finds another, and again, we see all 3 snipers being effective here for Carbon in this first half, and now Revenge, he's left in a 1v2, but definitely a player who could come out on top here. He's going to be spotted. Revenge, he gets the first shot there. Brando goes down, and now it's Rek left alone in a 1v1.
Very difficult situation for both players, and Rek just missed the timing of being shot in the back. Revenge bunny hopping past. We'll actually get all the way through. Move all the way behind and try and make some space for himself here, but has to go and get the bomb as of yet. He has found himself behind Rek as well. The bunny hopping works out. The positioning means that he does get away with that 2 versus 1. Revenge on point now.
And unfortunately for Carbon, that was a round they surely should have been able to hang on to. First, they had a 5-on-3, weren't able to hold on. Then they still take it down to a 2v1. And Revenge just takes it right away from them. Some nice utility, though, to start off this 8th round. Goes into the B tunnels. RGXM very low here. And now Carbon, they still look for that opening. Almost every round out of the past 5, they've had an opening to start it off in their favor, but it hasn't seemed to matter too much. This time, though, Pacific, they're going for a nice fake towards A. They just take mid control, and it's going to be completely theirs. Aldrin, big double kill. Make it a triple kill here. Just pushing out of mid, and it's going to be Famous alone in a 1v3. Famous looking for something big here, but he could make it happen. Both Aldrin and RGXM are very low. Revenge, again, having to be the anchor in this clutch situation. Famous, he finds himself all 3 kills. Big headshot and a 1v3. And just like that, Carbon, they're going to remain on top.
Goodness me. The veteran comes through with a big 1 versus 3. And something else that I'd like to point out as well is that Carbon been slowly ditching AWMs the last few rounds. They went from 3 to 2 to 1. Now they're back to 3. This time it's Famous grabbing that AWM. You mentioned it in the pre-game. This is the first time we've seen it, but Brando's going to stay on the rifle. And Carbon constantly keeping their setup very active in terms of changing it. They've had anywhere from 1 to 3 AWMs. They've had it on multiple different players as well. Now they're back to 3 to try and open this one up. Get themselves a 6-3 half. No matter what happens, they have won it, but they love that extra round moving into the next half.
Something interesting I noticed as well, Pacific, they had so much early success towards A, but they haven't actually tried to go A with a full team execution in quite some time now, and that really seemed to be what got them those first initial rounds on the board. This time, though, ZDD, he peeks A long alone. He's going to be punished for it. Brando takes him down, and they expected him to have a sniper, but he was playing a little bit closer with that rifle in hand. But still, this is going to throw them off guard because they're not expecting to have 3 snipers on the table, but this time it's going to be Famous playing with one as well. So again, 3 snipers playing back and safe. They have 1 in each lane as well this time around, mid A and B, both with a sniper on them. So it's really going to be about this B hold, though. Now it's going to be Kai's and Superman, who've had a lot of success here stalling out these B holds, but now the execution has to be brilliant if Pacific want to win it.
Surely they won't suspect the third orb here. Kai's is gifted the opportunity for the first and can't quite find it. Superman 2 falls. It's unfortunate for them, but now the orbs start to chime, or the AWM start to chime in. Rek grabs himself 1, brings it into this 3 versus 3. Good entries came through from Pacific to get onto this bomb site. Now they have to hold it. Revenge taking a close angle with the AWM. Now will give himself a nice little angle to hold. This is a difficult retake coming in for Carbon. They've got the HP advantage. They can go for this, but there's the first frag falling, and it's traded. Famous coming in. Now they know about his AWM. Goes up on the side, and RGXM finds it 1 versus 1. Rek this time looking for the kill. 14 seconds. Doesn't spot him out. Going for the defuse. Just holding onto it here. RGXM will come up though and check it, and it will be a 5-4 half.
Definitely a solid first half from both teams, to be honest there, but Carbon, when it came down to those early round pick situations, they really just got the best of Pacific going into this one, and I definitely appreciate the adjustments these guys have made to make it a successful global risk half for themselves. I was worried they were going to make the mistake of leaving Kai's A alone, but they left him mid, and that's a situation where he's always going to have support nearby, and you can tell when he was comfortable, he was playing very, very solid.
They were very reactive, or very active, I should say, on their defensive side as well, and shifting up their positions, shifting the number of snipers that they had, and constantly making Pacific guess where they were going to be sniped from, when they were going to be running into it. And it got them the first kill pretty much every round for Carbon, whether they were having an Orm frag coming through, or whether it was Brando with the rifle in the rounds that he had that, managing to find that engagement. That amount of dynamic play certainly kept them in this one, and did end up getting them that 5-4 lead, thin though it is. Now though, moving into their attacking side, let's see if they can do similar, and surely not as many snipers on the attacking side.
Definitely not. I'm sure they're only going to have probably 1, maybe 2 in some circumstances, but generally you're not going to see more than 2 snipers on the Blacklist side. But this is really where they still need to be careful. Carbon, they have the lead here, but now they're going into Pacific's territory, which is very, very solid defenses. This is what this team is known for on Pacific. They're very good at anchoring down and setting up a lot of pinch plays here. And Carbon, they're a team that's notoriously a bit nervous on the attack. If they don't get picks to go their way from the start, if Pacific turtles up a little bit and forces them to be aggressive, Carbon, I think they're still going to have a rough time here on the second half.
It is only the 1-round lead, so this is by no means a done deal for them, but at least they grab it, and they do have all of their players looking pretty sharp, right? No one's really falling behind. Superman and Kai's had some great rounds holding that B site. Famous had that ridiculous 1 versus 3 they managed to win. They're all managing to hit their shots here. Brando's doing well holding it down as well. So I think they're going to be fine in terms of, like, they've shown the confidence, they've shown they have the aim. Now they've just got to try and outwit the defensive side of Pacific Macta here, moving into their own side on Blacklist. See if they can get it done. You said this was going to be a 10-6 for Pacific, so not sure how we're feeling about that one at the moment, but we'll see. Heading into a fresh new half here, the side swap. Certainly expecting Revenge to have himself a good time on this defensive side. If Kai's able to have as much impact as he was, we've already seen how sharp Revenge is looking at this tournament. Perhaps could be a big area for him to step up, and a big time for him to step up in now in the sniping department.
And now here we're going to see it is just going to be Rek actually staying on the sniper with Kai's. So they're actually going to still have 2, which is a bit surprising. But Kai's, he starts it off right, takes Revenge out of the picture very early. Famous finds another. And that's exactly what you want to start off with. Famous finds another as well. Brilliant headshots from him to get this one kicked off in the second half. Still 2-on-4. Famous and Kai's are pretty low, so ZDD and RGXM in a winnable situation if they can find one of these players early, which they do. Kai's goes down, so now becomes a 2v3, Famous with half HP as well, so still a situation where they could win this. RGXM, though, he's going to have to hold off this A push by himself, and this is where he just needs to be cautious here and try and stall for a rotation. He spots 1 player, actually 2 players here on the cross. He's going to throw a flashbang, and he's just trying to stall for the rotation to come through from his teammate. He gets 1 in the process as well. Gets the double kill, and this could be enough. ZDD and Rek now in a 1v1. Last time these two met, it was ZDD who came out on top, but Rek This is his chance to turn it around here and keep his team on top. Otherwise, it will be a tie, but no, Rex shuts it down, and Carbon, they start it with a 6-4 lead in the second half.
It's an excellent round from them. Again, the individual players coming through. Famous with a big double kill early on. Pacific do well to bring that one back to almost a winnable situation, but not quite enough. And something that I want to note is that Revenge has lost the opening duel again. He did it. It happened to him quite a few times on his attacking side where he just get picked out by Brando or by Kai's or by Rek, but it's happened again here. Kai's took him down early on, I believe. It's certainly the start that you want. You want to be shutting down that superstar sniper player, and Aldrin is given the first onto Brando. It's traded immediately though.
Now we see Aldrin picking up a big triple kill here in the lower B tunnels. That's going to be exactly what Pacific needed to start off their second half in a much better situation than that first round one. Now you see ZDD picking up one. It's just Kai's alone in a 1v4. It'd be pretty much impossible for him to make this one happen. We've seen crazy things happen, but 1v4 with an AWM in hand. Pretty crazy situation here. He finds the first, though, onto Aldrin.
And the first is always the start. 3 more to find an IGXM. I've been deceived by the X-rays. Not actually there, but bomb down in the open. Difficult for Kais to retrieve that one. As soon as he gets the 1 kill here into RGXM, if he even gets it, he's going to have to wheel around immediately to try and find it. And in the end, he actually looks for revenge. He's found that as well. RGXM still hasn't moved, and Kai's now making this play. He's got a lot of time to make it as well. 1 minute and 5 seconds or thereabouts on the clock. 2 players to find, but RGXM will wait for the noise to be made, wait for him to pick up that bomb, and he swings out wide. Will take the kill as well. A near thing for Kai's was a couple more kills needed. He did open up very well, but Pacific will still shut it down.
And just like that, it's just going to be a 1-round game here, but Carbon, they need to be careful here because this map, as I've said before, is a global risk-sided map. So once momentum swings to that defensive half, it is very, very hard to take it away. So Pacific, they're still down here, but now they have a chance to get momentum on their side if they can win 2 in a row to bring it to a tie. It's going to put a lot of pressure back onto Carbon, and Carbon, the really only openings they're finding right now is if Kais gets that early pick or Famous just squeezes his way in, but they're going to have to do more than that to try and establish a bit more confidence here in the second half. Pacific, though, they're going to be playing their passive setup as usual, just playing that standard sort of 2-1-2 here, leaving Aldrin alone in mid. But he's actually going to back off as well. I think he senses this push coming in from the lower B tunnels. Superman and Brando both creeping up here, but still no commitment just yet. The C4 just going to be in spawn. They don't want to take this bomb head in, but they definitely need to be careful here. They could get caught off guard if they're not ready for this, but looks like they're going to go for a pretty explosive play out of mid.
So Carbon getting ready. Multiple players grouped up, about to take this engagement. And Aldrin found himself 3 kills last round. We'll have to see if he can step up here. But here comes the first phase. And again, he's ready with the headshot. Famous goes down, and the info is given as well. Aldrin this time will be caught out. Only the 1 frag before he gets traded. So it's better from Carbon. They don't lose complete control of it. But coming into this B-bomb side, it's a double setup. The crossfire comes out. Superman, nothing he can do there. And this is a very good setup from Pacific Macta. Very passive, but very aware of what areas they've given up and facing Carbon with a crossfire at every opportunity. Now it leaves it in the 3 versus 4. Kai's, Rek, and Brando have to try and convert something.
Now Carbon has a lot of pressure on Kais to try and open this side up. He has to try and find this pick onto ZDD, but it's not going to happen. They have a double wide peek, but it doesn't matter. ZDD gets one. ZYK with the assist here. He should be able to close it out, and he will do so with the Colt frag there onto Brando. And just like that, as I mentioned, they anchor it down on this defense in Pacific. They're so passive on these defensive positions that Carbon, they have to be ready to strike at every moment.
So now 6 rounds apiece. Into a tied game here. Brando's going to spot the gun of 1 player. Can't find the kill. A little bit of damage goes across, but not much. Carbon slow things down. Opening round of this half was excellent for them, finding the first pick and being able to roll through. But since then, they've been shut down by the CTs. In round number 2, it was Aldrin grabbing 3. In the round they just lost, it was a crossfire set up on that B-bomb site that annihilated them. So Carbon, got to figure something out here. A way to find that first pick without taking a bunch of damage from it. And again, seems to be a similar strategy to last round in that they're going to group up and go for the contact play. Just try and walk into the enemy and find some kills.
They are going to be going for a full B execution here as well. This will be their first full B execution, but they definitely want to be careful. ZDD and ZYK both very effective on this hold. And especially with the way they set up for trades, they'll have ZYK who can easily just flash his way in over the top of site here. And ZDD behind this headshot box has been so effective, just playing at that headshot level, drops down after dealing a ton of damage. And ZYK, he's still here on the back of site to deal damage, finds himself one frag on the retake already. Famous going to be caught off guard. He's taken down as well. And that's enough damage to potentially set up this retake for Pacific to be in a great position here. 3-on-2, Rek and Brando looking to try and hold on here.
Versus 3, and in goes Aldrin. Nice quick headshot to find the first. Now looking for more. He will spray it down. Another very clean round from Pacific Macta, keeping 3 players alive there in the end. And their holds have just been rock solid. They are playing very passive, giving Carbon all the map control they want, but as soon as it comes to that bomb site push, there is immediately a crossfire set up. Perfect counter utility being thrown, the flashbangs, everything. And now a change up. Their B-side players taking aggressive control of B-halls instead of playing back on the bomb side. Carbon may not be ready for this.
Yeah, definitely a smart decision to throw a curveball in there. They boost ZYK into the top of barn, just waiting for someone to potentially peek on there. They're just going to have ZDD playing close by for the support as well. So they're playing for a closer pinch on this B bomb side here. But again, they need to be careful. Carbon, they've given up 3 straight rounds here. So Pacific, they're in a very comfortable position, and they don't really change up anything else other than a more aggressive B approach. They still have 2 playing A safe, and they're still going to have Aldrin there in the back of mid. So right now, Carbon, they're really under the pressure here in the situation, and you can tell, even though they have room to try and control most of this map, they're not even trying to take it here. They want to try and find themselves an early wide pick before they actually push in, but this could actually come back to haunt them. The fear of this map control, the nervousness sinking in here, could actually give Pacific more advantage because they can slowly creep forward round by round and gain early map control of even more ranges, as you see here with this barn positioning. They find the first.
Oh my goodness. Great work from ZDD, grabbing 2 frags though. His teammates help out. And as you say, this is Carbon looking very scared indeed, and that doesn't show good signs. Pacific know now. They've been given the chance to move forward. They've gone for a bit of a sneak, pushing players up, and it's gone unpunished. Great shot from RGXM there now. Leaves it all onto Brando, the new shot caller. Surely not much he can do in this situation. He will be sprayed down. And things looking a little bleak for Carbon at this point. Still getting a bit scared, to be honest. Like, they are taking slow map control, but only what they're given. They're not taking too many risks, and that gives Pacific all the room they want to get in close to them, take these confident aim duels, and certainly the aim on Pacific is working. They're all very good at hitting that 1-bullet headshot, peeking around a corner, and this time it's finally Revenge getting involved. Will be forced out of his position, but ZYK is still there ready to trade.
And this is exactly what I was saying last round. They're giving them more and more map control by giving up these late round entries, and Carbon playing so reserved. Now Pacific, they're still playing passive, but they're able to push forward, and now they're holding mid and forward on B, and it forces Carbon almost as a funnel into this A bomb site, and they're going to be funneling into trouble because RGX, he's playing the cross pick as well as Revenge starting to work his way around on the wraparound as well, and Carbon, they're going right into a death trap in Pacific. They've already read it. They've got Aldrin's already on the flank. He's pushing up mid behind them, and Carbon, they're going to be stuck in this funnel of death here. They have to frag out. That's their only opportunity, but it's not going to happen. It's Famous alone in a 1v4. He's going to be taken down by Aldrin on the flank.
And this is Pacific looking very confident indeed. They know exactly what they're doing to Carbon, and they also know exactly how Carbon are choosing to deal with it, which is really not too much. We now come into map point, which would be a 10-6. Bang on your prediction. Don't you give me that look. But again, as you say, it's just Carbon. They're too scared. They played so well in their first half, and now they're almost terrified to take the aim duels. At this point, you almost feel like they need something fast, and look how quickly the defensive side are going. Kai's at least grabbed that one, but he does get traded. Again, the dynamic duo of ZDD, ZYK moving in together. RGXM even, I should say, but regardless, Carbon bring it back into a 4v4 at least. They don't go completely untraded, but still, have to feel like the momentum, the strength is with Pacific Macta here.
Carbon, though, still in a nice situation. They've got 2 players very low. ZDD and ZYK are pretty much non-factors unless they can somehow pull off some amazing shots with this low HP, but I just don't see that happening here. But Revenge, he's going to be taken down by Famous, and that's actually a nice way to get things even more in favor of Carb. But we have Aldrin as the only 100 HP player left on Pacific now, and it's going to be a tough road ahead. ZYK and ZDD with that low HP, they're going to have to do something now. Otherwise, it's going to give Carbon the nice potential to potentially take this one into overtime. And honestly, it'd be pretty crazy to see both of our first 2 games go into overtime.
Would indeed, but I'm not going to count Pacific Macta out of this one just yet. Aldrin's been great at locking down multi-frags when necessary, and now he's making the play in a man-down situation. They need to try and get some info, get a kill, and he spots out one, calls it, and chooses to keep moving. This is a big move from Aldrin. Using not to go off his advantage, and now he spots two, sprays them both down. Aldrin, the playmaker. Leaves it all on Superman and Brando, but Superman's going to grab two. Both the low HP players going down. It's all up to Aldrin. Very little HP remaining. The grenades coming his way will force him back. That will give up the bomb plant to Carbon, but Aldrin's still going for this. 1v2, it's doable.
Now he is going to be going for the full wraparound play as well, but with such low HP, he has to try and take down Superman first. Brando, he's won it anywhere. That nade could actually finish off Brando, though. It is going to Aldrin. Could he do this? The 4K and the map for his team, but Superman has a huge HP advantage to work with, so Aldrin, he has to zone in on a perfect headshot, and he's only got 15 seconds to make this happen. He's going to go for the quick peek. He takes him down. That's going to be the map, 10-6. Beautiful play from Aldrin, though. Surely the MVP of this one.
And I said partway through that round that he could do it. He's certainly been the playmaker in a lot of those situations, and he shows it there. Excellent trigger discipline, excellent controls. Not shoot at the first player he sees. Continue pushing, lines up two and takes down both. Loses both of his low HP teammates, but nonetheless, they make it work. And your prediction is correct, 10-6.
Yeah, definitely. I knew going into this one, Pacific, they're always a team that's dominant on the global risk side. Honestly, after that first half, I thought my prediction might have been wrong, but again, we see Carbon not able to capitalize, and they just got more and more reserved as that second half went on, and at the end of the day, you can't play that nervous if you want to take on a team as strong as Pacific Macta.
So that was a very good game from them in the end. The first half looked so good for Carbon. You have to say, like, they were prepared, they were winning the first engagements. Revenge, apart from a few explosive rounds, was getting taken out very, very consistently. And it was all working for them. The double and triple AWM was working wonders, but coming into their attacking side, they won that first round, and from there they just got rolled over. A little bit too scared, I think, of Pacific Macta.
Yeah, definitely Carbon. Looking ahead, they need to play a bit more aggressive, I think, on their blacklist halves. They just seemed almost too afraid to take map control against Pacific, and the longer that went on, the more Pacific, they just exploited that and were able to steamroll their way to a very, very confident second half. And honestly, at the end of the day, Carbon, they just have to really be studying what went wrong there if they want to move forward successful.
Do indeed. I mean, there were still good showings from them. Kai's in particular, we were talking about him in the pre-game, and in the first half especially, he had a great impact. Locking down that B side, taking the engagements towards mid when he did go for them. He did very, very well indeed to find the frags he needed. So I feel like that's a good little confidence boost for him, that even though they lose the map, he played it well. So it's always not lost for Carbon, I think. They can take some good things away from this map and say, all right, well, here's what we can work on. Here's what didn't go so well. Here's what we did well. So there's things to look at, I think, for them moving further into this tournament.
Yeah, definitely Kai has stepped up to the plate. He started it off strong, but unfortunately on their blacklist half, nobody was able to step up to the plate, and that's really where it shone through and showed us that they may not have what it takes to make it very far if they can't really adapt on that half, because if it's a consistent problem map by map, they're going to be in a really tough situation, I think, against a lot of these teams.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for them, and that is, I suppose, the most dominant game we've had today of two. We've had one overtime, one 10-6, so it's a small sample size, but, you know, we'll take it. We take those, and that means we now only have one game left until all of our teams here have played a game, and then we'll have a bit of an idea where things are going to sit moving into the rest of the group stages.
Yeah, right now, obviously, Q9 falling was probably the biggest upset of the day, but I'm sure we'll see more, especially with best of ones. Sort of anything can happen depending on how the map selection process goes. You kind of have to hope when it goes down to that 3 maps, you get the best draw out of it. And as we saw earlier, Q9, they fell short in that, and they fell short in the map. And then, as you see now, Pacific, they're going to be feeling confident as well because they sit in a higher position than Q9, and they know that Black Dragons is a team they've beat in the past. So Pacific, I think they're feeling probably the most comfortable out of anyone right now.
Yeah, I feel like you might be right there. They did indeed look very comfortable. They had all their players hitting shots. They had a few big clutch moments. Their spray downs, their holds were working. Aldrin had a few massive rounds, in particular the 1 versus 3 that won them the map. So I feel like they're all looking, they look pretty good. I thought they all seem to be hitting their shots and playing well together, and that's what we expect to come into this. They are a team that's been together for so long. They need to play together. It's kind of what happens when you just need to play well together, is what I'm trying to say. Like, when you've been together for that long, you need to know each other's tendencies and how you're going to play. And they seem to set up very well according to that. And they had a very good read on their defensive side on how Carbon were going to attack it, how much map control they could take without being punished. And it was all over, really, once they got on that global risk side.
Yeah, and it really just goes to show with that long-standing roster, they were just so confident in trusting each other on their defensive holds that you didn't see too many over-rotations. They just basically stayed in that 2-1-2 setup most of that half, and it paid off. They took away the 10-6, and now they'll be up 1-0 to start off their run in the Global Invitational, guys. We are going to take a break, and we'll be back with our very final game, basically, of the first round matches here. We've got Boss taking on All Gamers as our first time these two meet, and it's their first match as well, so I'm excited to see how they go head-to-head in this best of one, but we'll be right back after the break.